Competitive, proportionate districts are a bedrock of good government. When districts are competitive and proportionate, elected officials are accountable to the voters because the threat of losing an election is real. A competitive, proportionate district map means that the elected officials and the political parties to which they belong are accountable. That accountability is the best guarantee of good government. On the other hand, uncompetitive, disproportionate district maps corrupt our government. Lack of competition destroys the accountability to the voters of elected officials and their political parties. What incentive do government officials and their political parties have to deliver to the voters when they know that they will never lose an election? Uncompetitive, disproportionate districts are anathema to good government and to democracy. Incumbent politicians in Ohio's redistricting process a decade ago, and again last year, avoided competition and proportionality for themselves and enacted uncompetitive district maps. The elected institutions of government in our state, controlled by incumbents unchallenged in uncompetitive, disproportionate districts, have been dysfunctional and corrupt during the past decade and continue to be so today. Ohio voters by large margins in 2015 and in 2018 took action and changed the redistricting process. Notwithstanding the express will of the Ohio voters, the incumbents in our state are doing it again. The district maps that Senator McCauley proposed and the commission adopted last week are similarly uncompetitive and disproportionate compared to the existing maps. This is an outrage, and it should outrage every Ohioan. These incumbents, the leaders of our state government, are granting to themselves, again, gold-plated job tenure. Congratulations to them. It must be nice. How can you tell that the district maps that the commission adopted are bad? According to the analytics software of the website Dave's Redistricting, the partisan lean of the proposed districts deviates by more than 10 percentage points from the estimated partisan lean of the state with respect to approximately 83 of the districts of the proposed House map and approximately 80% of the districts of the proposed Senate map. So, only 17% of the districts of the proposed House map and only 20% of the districts of the proposed Senate map are competitive and proportionate. Again, 17 and 20% competitive proportionate proposed districts, 83 and 80% uncompetitive and disproportionate. Outrageous. It's even worse when you consider how easy it is to create much better, more competitive and proportionate maps. Not to mention the maps that the Democratic leaders introduced last week. Users on Dave's Redistricting can submit their own district maps, and the website software analyzes those user-submitted maps automatically. Right now, on the website, user-submitted maps are publicly available that, compared to the maps that the commission adopted, improve on the number of competitive, proportionate districts by more than 80% with respect to the House map and by more than 125% with respect to the Senate map. These users likely do not have the resources available to them that the commission does, and yet they produced far superior maps. Ohio voters deserve so much better. They deserve a redistricting commission that does its job and enacts district maps that promote competition and proportionality, not maps that insulate, protect, and coddle the incumbent politicians. Members of the Ohio Redistricting Commission, please rise to the moment. Do your jobs. Reject the Republican proposed district maps. Introduce new maps with far more competitive, proportionate districts. Examples of superior maps are available to you right now. Thank you.
Questions for the witness? Sir, you mentioned a lot about competitive proportional. Do you think competitiveness trumps the other concerns like keeping communities, counties, cities, townships whole?
I think proportionality and competitiveness should be the overriding concern. I think that as a secondary concern, we should strive to maintain communities of interest and compactness and these other values, but I think that competitiveness and proportionality should be the primary concern.
Are you aware that your leaders in the last redistricting process specifically said competitiveness is not a factor in the Constitution?
I wasn't following every single detail and, the twists, and there were quite a few, Mr. Auditor, with respect. Quite a few details the last time around. I didn't follow every single detail, no.
You are aware that the Constitution requires you to keep cities, counties, and townships whole where you can.
Fair enough, but I just reiterate, I think that the primary concern should be proportionality and competitiveness.
So to hit that, would you draw what are considered hub and spoke districts to move, you would agree with me that in Ohio's political geography, people tend to live around people who vote and think like them. And what that means is largely in Ohio urban core areas, we have a concentration of Democrats, and in the rural areas, we have a concentration of Republicans. In order to get where you want for proportional districts, the only way to do that is something commonly called hub and spoke districts. Yeah. Is that something you think would be a good political outcome for most Ohioans?
I haven't examined all of the consequences of, what I've just articulated. I stand by what I said. I trust the leaders of the caucus to which I belong, and the Democratic caucus in the Senate. I trust that they understand the consequences, and yeah, that's my view.
I appreciate it, and I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying.
Totally understand.
So thank you for your testimony. Any other comments, concerns?
Mr. Chair.
Representative Russo.
Thank you, Chair. Just as a point of clarification, there are a few of us who are returning members from the last version of the commission, and there are many technical requirements in the Constitution, as well as the proportionality that can and should be followed. And I think as evidenced by multiple maps that have been submitted by both citizens, independent groups, outside of this commission, that absolutely can be done. And in fact, it is only with exception in the commission's map that it cannot be done. So I think that that is the point I am guessing that my colleague, Representative Forhan, is trying to make, is that you actually can achieve multiple things. There are many examples of that. This map that is being considered by this commission currently, as well as the previous versions of the map ruled unconstitutional, do not achieve that.
Is that
I agree with Leader
question
Russo.
or comment, Representative?
Representative
do both.
Forhan, do you agree with what I just said?
I agree with Leader Russo. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Co-chair.
Thank you. So thank you, Representative, for being here and making the point. I think we've heard, I just want to reiterate that I think we've heard from a number of folks this morning that have also talked about their frustration with proportionality, but also have come to us and talked about living in rural and outlier districts, so not necessarily in urban areas, but still feeling that their representation is not reflected in this map. So I think all the points that of proportionality, but also and competitiveness, but also common interest, commonality in community, but the key question comes down to where is that boundary line? Where are those boundary lines drawn? And where are those communities of interest that relate to each other? And is that part of what you've also taken a look at when you've came to us and talked this morning about the proportionality, but also the lack of representation?
Yes, Leader Antonio. I agree. I think it's a huge problem, and it results because there is no accountability or threat of losing an election, that so many people feel that they lack that represent. I think that's what I think that's what you're getting at. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.